Hello guys, and welcome again to my channel. And if you are new here and you like my tutorials, you can subscribe to my channel. So this is my first Node.js tutorial. And in this tutorial, in this video, we are going to create a user management system using Node.js Express, handlebars, and we are going to use a Sequelize ORM. So if you are familiar with the libraries like Laravel, we have Eloquent. So Sequelize, it helps you to interact with the database without writing the raw queries. So we are going to see how it works. Now, this is the application that you're going to build. So I said it is a user management application, meaning that when you go to the home page, for example, it's running on a localhost port 3000, and you can see we have the list of users. And then you have the user ID, the name, email, and then the phone. But you can add as many details as you wish. And you can create user. So you can click on create user, and then you can just do user, and then user at gmail.com, and then the phone of the user, and then you submit, and this has been created. So if you go to all users, you can see we have this user here, and this data is persisted in the database. So this data is being saved to the database. All right, and we can view specific user. So you can see this is just a placeholder image, but you have the email, and then you see you have the phone. And you can also view another user. You can see the email and then the phone, and we can edit the user. So for example, this user, you can change it to maybe Simon, and then the email address Simon, and then you can also change the phone, right, and update, and you can see the user is updated, right. And you can delete the user. So we can click on delete button, and you see the user is deleted. So let's get started. And the first thing, you'll have to create a new folder, and I'm just going to create a new folder on my PC. You can create it from anywhere, and I just call it UMS, standing for User Management System. All right. And for this tutorial, you'll need the database, and in my case, I'm going to use XAMPP. XAMPP is one of the most popular data management systems. Actually, the PHP standalone development environment for PHP and Perl. It comes with MySQL, PHP, and Perl. Okay, and Apache server. Alright, so as you can see here, we are able to create a database and manage them from the PHP So what you're going to do, we are just going to create a new database, and that database you're going to name it UMS, and this is the database that you're going to use when the time comes. Alright, so let's just go back to the folder that we created, and the first thing, we'll open the terminal there. Just open your terminal from that project, and then we're going to do npm init -y. So basically what this is going to do, it is going to set up our project with the default configurations. All right, but then we can edit. Now after that, we want to install the packages that you are going to use, and I said that you are going to first install Express. So just do npm install Express. You are using Express handlebars also, so do Express, then Express handlebars. So Express handlebars, you're going to install Sequelize. All right, and also make sure that you install Sequelize globally, Sequelize CLI. So Sequelize CLI is the tool for managing or doing the operations related to Sequelize from your terminal. So I've installed it globally, but you can just do after installing that, I'll show you how to install it globally. So let's just install Express handlebars, Sequelize, and then Sequelize needs MySQL version 2. So make sure you install MySQL version 2. And also we need nodemon, but that is a dev package. You'll install it later. All right, so 1 2 3 4. So let's just install those for the time being. Now those packages have been installed, and I want to show you how to install Sequelize CLI globally. So just do Sequelize CLI -G. So this will install Sequelize globally. So just do npm install Sequelize CLI-G and hit enter. It's going to install a Sequelize package on your PC globally. Right. Okay, so after that you want to install nodemon. So just do npm install nodemon -d. So this is a dev package. That is why you are doing -d. It will help us to watch our file, so that every time we do the changes, it is going to automatically update the server. Okay, now that is done, and I just want you to open your favorite code editor from this folder here. I'm going to open using with Visual Code Studio, Visual Studio Code. I mean, so you can see these are the projects here. Let me just maximize. So this is the project, and what I want to do here, I want to let me just change the settings to change this from 14 to around 18. I think that will be more. Yeah, I think that. Right. So I think this one I think this one is this font is large. Okay. So you can see this file. What you want to do, we can either edit this, or we can create a new script. So let's just say this. We just do the command start there, and when we run that command, what is good? We want it to run nodemon app.js. Okay. So nodemon is going, when we run npm run start, it is going to run this command, and this one is going to open our app.js. So here we are going to create a new file in the root directory, and we are going to call it app.js. Okay, and here is this, we're going to write, this is going to be our initialization file. Right, so let's just write some code here before anything. So the first thing is to require express or import express. So const express is equals to require, and what you just want to do is to require express. Okay, and then const const app is equals to, we just now initialize express like that. We import express and then you initialize it, so we set it to app. So we have to do to pass some middlewares, so like the middlewares for processing the JSON data that comes to our application, and also the data from our form. So the form that we are going to use to register the user. So we'll just do app.use app.use express.json. Okay, and then after that you can also do app, that one will process JSON, and then this one you just do app.use express.url encoded, and then just want to pass there extended and set it to true. So basically what that means, that it is going to press more data. Okay, that is the simplest way I can explain it, but then you can go to the documentation and read about it. Right, so this one is going to this is our middleware, right? So we just want to set const port. Up here we can just do const port is equals to process. So if it is running on the server, it is going to use process.env.port. Okay, the port that will be assigned by the server. But if it is local, you can just do port 5000, right? Yeah. And then after that, you can just do app.listen. So you just want to listen to that port that you set. And then you can just have an arrow function. I just want to do console.log the server is listening on port and then port, right? So that's it for just initialization of our project, and let's just go to the project and run npm run start and see what happens. And you can see it starts nodemon and says the app is running on port 8000, right? So if we go to port 8000 and just open our browser and go to localhost port 5000, I mean not 8000, port 5000. And you can see here it's recognized but does not recognize the get, does not get anything there, so it tells you cannot get, right? Alright, so that is it. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to set up the templating engine. So the templating engine, you said that you are going to use the handlebars, so we need to make express use app use the static. So just do app.use express.static, and that we just want to set it to the public. So the static files directory is going to be public. So this is the directory where we will be saving the static files like CSS, images if we want to use etc. So let's just go to this application root and create a folder called public. Alright. Okay, now the next thing we want to do here is I said we want to set the templating engine so that you can able to serve the HTML files. So we will do this, we'll do app.engine. So we want to set engine as handlebars, but you have to import the handlebars here first. So just do const express handlebars is equals to require and then express handlebars. Okay, so you have it there. You can just set the app engine. So app dot engine is equals to so the engine is going to be handlebars, right? And then we just initialize that. So express handlebars, and then there we have to do some extension that you want to use. We just want to use .hbs. Now what this means is that the engine that you're going to use is handlebars, but for handlebars you have to create a file like this. So for example, you can do index.handlebars. Can you see how that name is long? This extension is long. Now here we are just specifying the extension that you want to use, and to say that you want to use instead of these long handlebars, we just want to use .hbs, right? So that is basically what you are doing, and then you are going to delete, and finally we have to do this and just do app dot. So what you are going to set, we are just going to set the engine here. So just do app dot set. What you are going to set is view engine, and you are going to set it to the engine that we just done up there, which is handlebars, right? Which is handlebars, right? And that's it. So we are able to serve we are able to serve files that comes from the handlebars templating engine. So what we're going to do, just create here directory and just call it view. Just create view directory, and inside the view directory we want to create another directory called layouts. Okay, and inside the layout you want to create a file called main.hbs. So main.handlebars, and this is going to be our layout. So let's do this. We are going to just scaffolding of HTML here and do user management system, and then after that we just want to do here h1. Now let's just give it a class of container, right? And this idea, just do a triple curly braces like this and do body, right? So this is where the other files code is going to go here, and I'll show you that. Now inside the view directory here, we'll just create a file. We can call it home.handlebars, right? And here we'll just do h1 and say users. You can just do all users, right? And after that we'll go to app.js, and then we'll just create our first route. So just do app.get, and then that, and then what you want to do is just want to do request and then response, and we just want to render that that file. So just do res.render home. So res.render home. So what is going to happen is that it is going to render this home.handlebars, and try again and see. And now you see our file is rendered there, but you can see now it is just the HTML. So we need bootstrap. So let's just go and look for bootstrap CDN. Bootstrap CDN, and we're just going to copy this, okay, and go to our project. Inside the main layout here, we just want to do a link, and then we'll paste there the bootstrap link, CDN link. If you don't have internet, you can please use you can just download the bootstrap, right? I'm using bootstrap 5. So I'm just going to copy JavaScript 2 and go to the project here, and down here I'm going to do a script, and then src, and I paste the JavaScript link, and now we have bootstrap there. Now bootstrap is now working. Now if we refresh, you'll see this one moved here because it is a container, and you can see that styling, meaning that bootstrap is working, right? Okay, so that is it. So the first thing, the home page, you need to have the user table. So just go and search table, bootstrap table, and then we can just get this one here. Okay, you can just click on the first link. You can use any table. Okay, right? I'm using an extension called grepper. Maybe you may be wondering, why am I getting this code here? I'm using an extension called grepper. So you can install that extension. You can just search and install it on Chrome. When you search for the code, it will give you an overview of that code here. Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to go to this home.handlebars, and here I'm just going to add the table there, right? So if I save that and go back and refresh, you see you have that table there. So that's the table that you're going to use, but you need to customize a little bit. So you need, this is going to be ID, this is going to be the name, email, and then phone. Email is going to be the phone, and then this is going to be, we have another field here that you're going to call action. So this action is where you're going to have a delete button, edit button, and so on. Then after that, you just don't need all these columns, you just need to remain with one. Okay, because you're going, this data is going to be automated, and that is it. Now this is our view here, but inside this Inside here, I can just add another TD, and this one you're going to have the first link is going to be, it will lead to a path called, okay, we'll just define path later, but let's just do that, and we'll do view, and you just give it a class of btn success, not success, let me give it btn primary. So if you are familiar with bootstrap, I hope you know this. Bootstrap is the most popular, I think, framework for css and html, I think. Okay, here's going to be edit, and this one is going to be edit. You can just do success. This one is going to be delete, and delete we are going to give it a class of btn danger, right? So if we save that and go back, you can see how it has been styled, right? So that's it for the home page, and we need where we can form where we can create the user. So we're just going to go back and we'll create another file, and can just do it create.handlebars. Inside create.handlebars, we're going to just do h1 and create user, and here we are going to have a form. So if we go to Bootstrap here, we can just search for Bootstrap form. And again, my extension I'm using will give me this form, and I just want to copy it, but you can use any Bootstrap form. So I'll go to back here, and then I'll paste that. Now this one is email address, but we just change it to name. And then remember, type should be text. And also we don't need these things, we don't need this, you don't even need placeholder, you can just remove those. And we also need this, so you can just remove it. Okay, and so we don't need these three, we just delete them. They're just going to copy that and paste and paste. So this one is going to be email. Email, you can just make it email. This one is going to be phone, and the phone can just remain phone there. And basically that is it. So this you can change it to create user, and then you can add another file. We are going to copy this. So create user will have the button here. You can just have a button here that will return to the home page. So we'll call it all users. Okay, you just give it a class of btn primary. So this is just going to give it a blue color. This is the bootstrap. Okay, and that is it. So let's create another file here that will be responsible for editing the user. So just create a file here, and we'll just call it edit.handlebars, and paste that. Change this to edit. Okay, change that to edit, and you can go to create and also get this button here. Okay, edit user. Okay, so that is editing user, and then now we need another file which is for viewing users. So just create another file, and you can just do single.handlebars. So single, or you can just call it user, anything you want to call it, user.handlebars. But this is going to display each single user. So let's just go to Bootstrap and get some Bootstrap card. So just do a Bootstrap card, and I just take this, and then I'll go to the project here, and to the user I'll just paste that, and I'll give it a class of margin top of 5 so that it's not no, but I don't think I need this. I need another one that has something like image, but we can still use that, right? So let's just this one here. So that's it, I think, for the files that we need, but in case you need another one, we are going to create. So up to here we've set up our project, and then we have set up the views that will require. So what else do we need? So I want to structure our project in a way that it's like an MVC. So you have the views, or we have the controllers, and then you have the routes there on different folders. So just create another folder and we'll call it src, and inside the src we are going to create another folder. We are going to call controllers, and inside the src we are also going to have another folder called models, and we are also going to create no, where did you create this? We need to move this inside the src. So models, I think another one, you want to create another one that we are calling routes. So this one is going to have our routes, and we need one file inside the src here, or we can just create it outside here, and we can just call it db, and that is going to be our database connection file. So just call it db.js. Okay, all right, so that's it. We have created these files, and now in this session we are going to set up our database. So how do you connect to the database that we just set up here, the database that we created, which is this one, using Sequelize. So the first thing you have to do is to import Sequelize. Remember, we had installed Sequelize, so just do const Sequelize is equals to require, and then we require Sequelize. All right, and then after that we just do const db. So define the database. The db, we initialize the database, or we connect to the database. So const db is equals to new Sequelize. And how do we connect? The first thing we need is the database that you are using. So the database is going to be UMS, and then the user I'm using root as the default user here, and then the password with MySQL is null, and then after that we'll pass object of we need the host. So db host is going to be, I'm using MySQL, so I'll just specify here MySQL, and then we have to do dialect. So dialect is going to be I'm sorry, MySQL. So dialect is MySQL, host is going to be localhost. You can do localhost, or you can do 1.7.0.0.1, that is localhost. So the host is the database host, but the dialect is the database that you are using. All right, so we have MySQL, we have MongoDB, we have PostgreSQL, we have SQLite. So I'm just specifying here that I'm using MySQL, right? So that's it. But then you have to export this file so that you can use it in other files. So just do module.exports is equals to db, right? That's it. But then if you want to make it global file, you can just do global.db is equals to db. So if you do that, you'll be able to access it globally. But let me just do that, because there's only one place I'm going to import it, which is going to be inside the I think the models, where we connect to the database, right? I'm just going to do it inside the models. Right, so that's it. Now after doing this, we have to do what? We have to create our model. So this is actually, in this session, you have been just connected to the database. All right. Now we want now to create our models. So we installed Sequelize CLI, and Sequelize CLI, I said that it is a terminal management tool. Okay, so it's going to help you to create migrations, create models, create seeders, and also if we just do this, just look at what I want to do here. I just want to go back to this project, and I'll open another terminal there, and I'll do Sequelize in it. Sequelize in it. So that is just to initialize Sequelize, and it is going to create here four directories. So let's sit and watch here. And you see it has created three directories. The first one is config, and that's configuration or config.json, where you can define your configurations, database configurations. And you have also migration, it's empty. Models, you have one model here. All right. So I just want to leave it. I don't know if I should leave it, but I already have models here. So what I want to do is I want to close. I just want to delete this because we have already defined the database configuration in another file here. And also migration models, you don't need them because we've created that folder inside the SRC folder. Seeders, you don't need them for now. So let's just delete. And now we have migrations here, and now we are able to get migrations. We'll use that migrations directory. But now let's just go to the models folder here and create a first model, which is going to be the model that you are going to use is going to be called user model. So just inside the models, we create a new file called user.js, and inside the user.js, what are we going to do? We are going to first define there import Sequelize, because you are going to use Sequelize data types. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll just see. So Sequelize is equals to require, and we require Sequelize there. And then after that, what you want to do is to also import the DB. Remember that DB file, we said that you're going to use it in the models. Yeah, so we need it here. So const DB is equals to require, and we'll just have to define it is location, and it is this one here. So from this directory, you have to go back and then back again. So you have to go back to, you are here, you have to go back to the source, and then you have to go back to the root directory. That is why I'm doing this, to get to it. So after that, you just do module dot exports. So you have to define our model parameters. Basically, these are the columns that are going to be in the database. So when the column that the database is going to have, okay, the specific table. So remember, you have the database that is set as UMS here, but inside here we are representing each table that you are going to create here with the model. So you see, you have the user model, meaning that we are going to have users table. Okay, so here the field that you are going to define in our migration, we have to define also in this file here, which is the model. So it's going to be module.exports is equals to define, and you can see it has completed some code for us here. But I'll just remove that. Okay, so remove it. So just define, and then here is the model name, which is user, and then you have to now specify the columns that are in that table, the columns. Okay, so here, this is the format that you use. So let's say that our table is going to have the ID, the name, the phone, and then the email. We have to define those items here. So for example, just do ID, and the ID we want to set it to The first thing is type. So what is the type that you want to use? The Sequelize type. We have to do Sequelize dot integer. Okay, ID is integer, you know that. So you have to do integer, and you can specify there the length. So I'm specifying there 11. And another thing is we have a property called allow null. So allow null is by default. So every field that you're going to create is going to be null. It is nullable. So allow null, you just want to set it to false because you don't want the ID to be false. And then it is primary key. So just do primary key. So you want to set it as primary key and just do true. And then auto increment and just set it to true. So that means it's going to auto increment. So that is for ID. And another field that you're going to have is name, right? And then name, we also just define the type, and it's going to be Sequelize dot string. It is going to be string. Okay. And then another thing, okay, allow null. I just want to set it to false. And then unique, you can make it unique. Unique, it will make that field to be unique. So unique, and then I just set it to true. Okay, and another thing is I think that is enough. So this name is going to be string. It is not going to be null, and it's going to be unique. So no two users are going to have the same name. So just copy that, paste below. You have to separate them with a comma and paste below. So here, what you want to do here, you just want to change this to email and this one to phone. And that's it. That is it. We have 3 fields. So you can, if you saw from the project that we did, it demonstrated, we had name, email, and phone, and we have defined them here. But we need ID for primary key. So that is it with our model. And you see, used exports, model with exports, meaning that we can access it from other files, right? Okay. So here you have to use db.define. Actually, I saw it here. You have to use db.define there. Okay, now this our model. We have already done our model, and now we want to start with our migration. So let's create migration, and the migration is the file that is going to run and create this table in our database. So let's just use the Sequelize tool to create our migration, and you just do Sequelize db Sequelize migration, and then generate, right? Sequelize migration, generate, and then you have to specify the name. So the name is going to create underscore users table. So basically the name is just a definition of what you are doing. Okay, it is you are creating users table. That is it. So just click, you just hit enter, and we find that if we go back to the migration folder, we have this one. We have this file and the code written for us. So what you want to do, it is synchronous. So asynchronous. So you have to just remove that. And here you can see here is create table users, and then after creating table users, here is where you define those fields, and they are going to be just the same as the field that we set in this user model. So just you copy everything here, and then after that we just go back to the migrations, and then what you want to do is to paste everything there, okay, as it is. So you see, just copy it from the user model and paste it here, and now our fields are defined here. And then what you want to do is to add another field. We will add two fields, and the first one is going to be created at. So we want created that fields, and it's going to be Sequelize dot date, and also updated that is going to be Sequelize dot date, and that's it. So we have our model. Yeah, we have our migration already set up. And then, so basically when you do a Sequelized a DB migrate, it is going to write this table in our database. Okay, this app method is going to run. And if we do if we undo the migration, this is going to run and it's going to drop this table from our database. So just basically same as Laravel migrations or any other framework. So let me just save that. And then, so the next thing you're going to do is to migrate our table to the database. Now, if you click on this database that we created, you see that we don't have any table there, right? So let's just do this. Let's go back to the terminal and we'll migrate that table by doing Sequelize db and then migrate. Okay, so that is the problem. The problem is that we deleted the config, and that config is where it refers. It refers to that directory when it is creating migration. So we'll just create that file. Or we can just do again. We can just initialize again. So just do Sequelize. You can just copy everything here. And we'll just do again, we'll just initialize Sequelize init. Okay, it has created the three, so we just want to delete these. Now inside the configuration here, we'll specify the username, the password, and then the database is just going to be UMS. Okay. And then in the migration, you see we still have our migration file there. So that is it. So let's just again run db migrate. And you see it has migrated the user. Okay, so if we click on here, you see that we have table users here. What is it saying? And you see you have our table here, you have the ID, name, email, phone. Okay, so that is it. So that's great. We are moving on well. So we have that done. So after that has been done, now we have our database set. And now what do we need again? Now we need, the next thing you have to work on is routes. So let's just go to src and then routes, and we are going to create a new file. We're just going to call it, you can just call it index.js, but I can just call it, let us call it index.js. Inside here we have to import express because we need express server, express router. So express is equals to require express, not express-handlebars. And then we need now to do a const router is equals to express dot router. So yeah, we need the express router there. Okay, so after that we have to export that router. So just do module.export, so that we are exporting so that you can use it in other files. So module.export is equals to router. Okay, that's it. And then after that we'll go to app.js and here instead of doing this, we are going to transfer this to our router file, but then you have to export it here. So just import const, you have to import it here. Const router is equals to require, so it is inside the source, and then routes, then index, and then we'll just do here, we'll just do app.use, and then, so what this means is that every time we visit anything that starts with slash, we are going to define those routes in the route index.js in the routes. So here we'll just do router, and that's it. So we'll move this file to index.js here, but now instead of app we use router, because now we defined here the router. And if we go to the home page, we still have the same file, meaning that there's nothing that has changed. But the good thing is that you have separated the routes from the main file. So here we can define our routes. Now, you see, like in Laravel, I just like referring to Laravel because I work with it so much. So in Laravel, you find that you have the routes, and the routes you can define a function here, or you can define a controller that is going to handle that specific route. So that is the same thing you want to do here. So instead of using this, we are going to create a controller, and inside the controllers you just create a file, and we'll call it user controller.js. And now here we'll just the first thing is we need to import our models here, because actually we want to use our models inside this controller. So we'll just do const user is equals to require. So remember our user model that we just created. So models /user, that's it. Now here we'll just define async. I'm just going to use async function, and I pass their request and then response. Async. So this one is going to be home page. So I don't know, users const all users, can just call it all users is equals to async function, and I'm using arrow function here. And since it is async, now instead of using this, let's go to the index.js. Index.js here. Instead of using now this rendering from here, we'll just render it from this controller here. So I'll just do that, but you have to do await. So await res.render home, and then you have to export that. So just do module.export is equals to, and I just want to export it as object, and here I'll just define that all users. Okay, so I don't want to export one by one, just want to export it as object, and then you can access it from index through object destructuring. So you can just do const object like all users, okay, is equals to require, and then here we specify that file. So it is inside the controllers, and then we have the user controller. So every time we define a method, we are going to import here. So instead of this method, we just replace it with what? With that method there, all users. That's it. Yeah. And that's it. So the good thing that if we refresh again, you see there's nothing that has changed. But now we have separated our logic. We have the controllers to deal with the logic. You have the router file here to deal with the routers and routes. And then we have the main index, you have the database, and then you have the models. Okay, so that's great. Now, here, we'll now go back to this. Now here we are serving all the users, but now we need how we can create a user. So let's just copy this and paste below, and we're just going to do create user. Or we can first render the user form. So we can just do the user form there, and then we're just going to render create. So when somebody wants to create, they are going to click somewhere. So if we go to the home here, we are going to define, let's just define the route first. Inside the index.js, we are going to define another route. Okay, and that route is going to be create. And the method you're going to use this method that we just defined in the user controller, which is create user form. This is going to render the user's form. So we just add it here. And then it is going to render this view here. Inside the views, you can see this create.handlebars. It is going to render this file. So here we are just rendering that, and that's it. So if we save that, and then you go back here and save it, but you have to import this create user form. This user form, and you see if I import it here, it is automatically imported inside here. Okay, so that's it. So if we go here to the home.handlebars here, we can define a link there. It is going to lead to create, and then we can just give it a class of btn primary, btn primary, and that's it. So let's refresh, and you see you have the button there, but then you have to say create user there. Now you have the create user button. Give it a margin. You can give it a margin bottom of 1. Yeah, now you have that space. So when you click here, you see that it renders this form here. That's great. It renders this form here. And if we click all users, it takes us back to the home page. Okay, so here, what you want to do here, inside this function here, this renders, but we need another function. That function is going to be to save the data to the database, right? So when we click on in this form here, when we click on this user form and click on create user, we will get that data, and then that data is going to be sent to the route that you're going to create. It is going to be the same route here, but then it is going to be a post route instead of get, because we are getting data through post. Okay, so here we are just going to call it save user, and then what this is going to do, this is now where we are. At this point, we are going to start interacting with our model here, right? So this is what we are going to do. So the first thing, let's just add it here, save user, and then let's go to the model here, and not to the model, to the routes, and create another route, and we'll call it post. And then we are going to use the method save user. Okay, if it does not automatically import that here, that function, make sure that you import it. Okay, so here inside the save user, the first thing you have to do is we want to get the data that is coming through the request, and then you're going to save it to database. So we are going to do this const const. So we just use the object the structuring. So const name and then email and then phone is equals to request dot body. So request, when we send data, it is going to be in this request dot body object, and if this request dot body is going to contain the phone, the email, and the name that we are going to send from our form. And then after that, what we just want to do is to save the user to the database. So just do, we have the user model here, but this is, since we are using a synchronous function there, we have to do await. We have to do await here. Okay, otherwise that promise will be pending. So let's just do again const user is equals to, we can just do this await user. So now we need to differentiate this. If I use the capital U, I'm using this model here. I'm using the model. So user dot create, it has a function called create, a method called create, where you pass there the parameters. Okay, then dot catch, since it is a sync function, we catch the error. In case of any error, we just want to console dot log that error. Okay, and here we have to pass there the, we can just pass there the this one here, the request object. But then let's just do we just want to specify name is going to be name, and then email is going to be email, and then phone is going to be phone. And if this runs without any errors, what you just want to do is to render to redirect. So just do res dot redirect. So just want to redirect back to the create user, or we can just direct back to the home page. Yeah, this is going to redirect back to the home page. Okay, and that's it. Okay, that's it. That's it. So just do res dot redirect to the home page. But then let's just before that, let's just console dot log user and see if we'll get that data from the user console logged in our console. So let's just save that, and after saving that, we are just going back to create dot handlebars, and we are going to define inside the form, we are going to define action. So action is going to be /create, and the method is going to be post. So you have to define the method as post. And I think that's it. So let's just test it. So let's refresh, and we'll just enter name there and try it. And you see right away it takes us to the home page. But then you see it is this is static data. So let's create another user and see. Remember, the names cannot be same. And then the phone, yeah. Remember, the names cannot be same. But let's look at the console and see if we are getting that data logged there. You have an error. User.name cannot be null. Okay, so we are getting an error that is saying that user.name cannot be null, and then user.email cannot be null. And I realized the problem. So if we go to the code here and go to the create, you see that we've not specified the name attributes for these fields. Okay, so you have to specify name is equals to name there, and then here name is equals to email, and then here name is equals to phone. Name is equals to phone. And that's it. Okay, that's it. And if you go to user control, also remember that this one is the same as just doing name, name, email, it's just the same thing. This is ES6. You can just do this. Okay, so that's it, and let's now try creating another user. So just refresh, create user, and see what happens. And there you go, our user has been created. So if you go to the database and refresh, you find that you have the first user created there. So let's create another user. Make sure that the names are not same, and also the phone numbers. Okay, there's a problem. There's a problem. Oh, there's a problem here. The problem is that after creating the user, here we just want to redirect await rest.redirect. So let's just be redirecting to the home page. Instead of rendering the create, we just want to redirect the home page. Okay, so looks like there is an error now. So again, let's try it. Let's go back to the home page. Okay, you're going to the home page. So let's do again, create another user. Make sure that emails are not same, and phone numbers. Okay, so if we go to the database, we'll be having 3 users. Yeah, and then you have 3 users. Okay, now how do we display these users? Okay, I've taken a long time on creating the users, but how do we display the users? Now we'll go to the home page. This is where we are going to display all users, and it is very simple using handlebars. So here you can see this row. We just cut it, and we'll do just do hash each. Okay, so hash each users. So like this is like for each users. If you are used to Laravel, and then you'll just paste that, and after that you'll just do each. We'll just send each like that. And now this one is going to be the name. This is the ID. So this is going to have the ID of the user, and you just do this dot ID, right? And then you just copy this down. This is going to this dot name. This is the name of the user, and then this is going to be this dot email, and finally this is going to be this dot email, and this final is going to be this dot phone. But there is something. We have passed this here, but we've not in the users route and slash route users route, we've not passed there the users data. So inside here, the first thing you have to do is to get the users. So const users is equals to await, and then we have a method called find all. So user dot find all. So find all, we find all users. You can filter here, and I just want to pass the row and then set it to true. So make sure that you set the raw data to true. That's good. And then just do catch error. In case of any error, just want to console.log that error. So make sure that you pass this row, otherwise it's going to throw an error. And now that you have our users, what you want to do is that when you are rendering the home page, you also want to pass there the users as object like that, users. And basically that is it. So if it should work now, if we go to here and refresh, and there you go, we have our users. You see the user ID, the name, email, and then the phone there. Now let's work on the view user. So we'll go back to the code, and you want to write the functionality for viewing the user. And the first thing you have to define is that the method that's going to do that. So we'll just create a const edit user. So edit is going to display the user form, async request response. And then here we just want to render that, so just do res.render. So we want to render the edit form, res.render edit. But remember, this is the edit form, but remember that we need that specific user so that we can populate that that form with the specific user who they are editing. So you have to first get the specific user with that ID, meaning that we have to pass inside that route ID. So just get that ID by doing, but let me pass there first. So let's go to home. This, when somebody clicks on this button, that is when we are editing the user. So we'll just do /edit and then / the ID of that specific user. So just echo the ID here, and we are going to do this .id. So we are going to pass there the ID as one of the params. And if we go to the routes, let's just copy this method and then paste it, export it here. And then after that, let's go to routes here, and we'll define that route. So that route is going to be a get route, and then it is going to be called edit. But remember, we have what? Dynamic ID. So we have dynamic parameter ID, and this is how you set dynamic parameters here in Express. And then you just use edit user, and it has been imported there, and that's it. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get that specific user from our controller. This method, we just do const user is equals to user dot find one. So just want to find one user, so find one, and then you have to specify where. So where we need to import ID here. We need the ID. And how do you get the ID? Since we are passing the ID there from this file, from home here, we are passing there the ID. We can get it in Express using what we call a param. So if we do the const ID is equals to request.params. Okay, so all the parameters that are sent through the request are going to be accessed through request.param. It is going to be an object, but we need the ID from that object, and that is why we've defined the ID here. Okay, so now that we have ID, we want to find inside the user table one user with where ID, whose ID is equals to ID that has been passed there, and that's it. But then you have to catch errors. In case of any error, you just want to console.log error. Okay, so that's it. And since we have the user, we want to render that here, and as we render, we want to render together with that user. Okay, that's it. So then if we go to the edit file here, we have to define now what you call the value. We have to define, let's just copy the table first, the create table, since we defined the names there. So let's just copy this and go to edit and replace this form with that one, and we are going to add the value fields here. Okay, so value is equals to, so this one is going to be, since we have the user sent to this file, we just do user dot name, and this one is going to be user dot email, and this one is going to be user dot phone, and this one you're just going to change it to update user. And when this button is pressed, the route is going to be different. The route here is going to be not the route, the action is going to be update, but you have to pass there the ID of that user. So that is why you have to do user dot ID, and we have to create this route, the update route. So if we go to user controller here, let's just create that route first. So router dot get dot post is going to be post, and then it's going to be update, and then here it's going to be update user, and you have to import it here. So it is not, we have not created it, that is why you see it is still bluish. So let's go back to the controller, and we'll just we can copy this and paste it down here, and this one will change it to update user, and here we have to do update user. You have to export it. So the update user is going to get that parameter, okay, that the parameter of the specific user, and then after getting not the parameter, the ID from the request.params. So it's going to get the ID from the request.params, and then after that it is going to update the user. Okay, so before I forget, this one should be async, so it should be await user.find1. This one should also be await, and then here inside the update user you have the ID that comes through the request, and also you have the we just do const data is equals to request dot body, and then const selector. So this is the selector, don't worry about it, I'll explain. So selector is equals to just object, you can just do where ID is equals to ID. Okay, now what is going to happen here is that you are going to we have we want to update that specific user with this data, the data that is going to come from the body, okay, request, and then request.body, and then we want to update where the ID of that user is equal to the ID that comes through the request here. And how do we do that? Okay, how do we do that? Now we have to remove this, and now we write here, so you just do await user dot update, and inside this update you just pass their data, we are updating that data, and then we're using that selector, change it to selector. Okay, then dot catch, so we catch any error, and then we just log the error. And then after that we just redirect, redirect to the home page. And that's it. That's it. So let's try it again. Let's just go to our table. Here we have our all users in our table, and we'll try to click on not on view, on edit, and you see you have this, but I really don't know why we don't have that user. So let's go to the console and look for the error. ID of, so what you have to do, I said that you have to pass there the row. You have to pass row. So when we are getting this specific user to update, where the ID is that ID, and then just do row and then set it to true. If you don't do that, that is when you get this error here. Okay. But then after doing that, we should be able to get the user data. And now you have the data. Now let me just try to do some editing and see. And you see it has edited there. It has been updated. So Simon, so I can just do Johnson, Johnson, and see. And you see it has been updated. So basically updating is working. Now let's look at view. How is view going to work? So we just want to finish very fast. And if you go to our code here, we are going to create the method for viewing the user. So I'll just copy that and then paste below, and then we just change this to view user, and then we pass it here, view user, and then here it will need the user ID. Okay, so const ID is equals to request.params, and then if we have that ID, we can now get the user. So basically we are going to get the user in the same way we did here. Okay, here. So basically it's the same thing. So you just find that user because you want to display the user. Okay, so here. So basically we just user is equals to await user.find, and we find that the user with the ID that will be passed there, and then row through, and then after we gotten that user, we want to render, we called it user, so just want to render user, and we want to render that data of the user that you've just found, and that's it. So let's go to index here and define that route. So just do it's going to be a get route, so get a user, and then here we are going to do view user, and it has been imported there. Okay, and then we have to go to home here and change this to /user, and then you have to pass there the user's ID, which is going to be this.id. And now on the user, since we are going to send here user, here we can just define that user's name. So it's going to be user.name, and then here it can be user.email. So you can work on the UI if you want. Of course, this is not a UI tutorial, it's not a UI course. And then here we can just do all users. So this is going to take us back to the home page. So we just change this URL to / and remove this, and this one you can just display the phone of that user. So just do user, okay, user.phone. That's it. So if we go back and refresh, and let's try to click here, and you see there you go, we are able to view that specific user. You go back, we view this one, you see there we go, here we can view that specific user. Oh, so that's great. Now we are viewing, and now the last thing you have to do now to delete the users. Okay, so you go back to the user controller, and we'll just do that and paste, and this one is going to be delete user. and then delete user. We pass there the ID, we find that specific user, and then here we just want to delete the user, so just do user.destroy, and that should work. And then after that we just want to redirect, to the home page. Okay, so you pass there delete user. So if you don't understand, we are going to pass there the ID inside the home. This delete button here, this delete button here will just do delete, and then you pass there the ID of that specific user that you want to delete. So it is this.id, that is the ID of that user. And then when we click on this button, this method here it's going to be called, this delete user method is going to be called. And basically what this method does is to get the ID that has been passed through in the request, and then we find the user from the database with such an ID, and then if you have that user, just delete the user and return back to the home page. So we have to define that route in the index, so copy that, and then we change this to delete, and then here we just do delete user. That's it. So let's test that and see if it works. So just refresh and try deleting this, and it looks like you have an error. The error says that unhandled request destroy. So you have to do this. You have to do this inside the user here. You have to do await. So await user.destroy. Okay. We'll try again. And it is saying that user.destroy is not a function. So what we can do is this. You can change this. You can rewrite this from that. Instead of finding, you can just do user.destroy where the ID is equals to ID. Okay, await user.destroy where ID is equals to ID, and you just delete this. So let's try it again. So we'll just refresh and try to delete the last one, and there you go. You see it has been deleted. So we can add just a fake user here, and then just fake phone, and create. You have this user here, and you can delete the user. You see the user is in the database. If we refresh here, you see that you have the user there, but then we can delete this specific user, and you see the user has been deleted. So thank you so much. Basically you've done that. You've done the CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. All the functionalities, you've done them. So this is my first Node.js tutorial, and I just request you to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this if you like them. Thank you so much.